do a meeting in my kitchen.
You got anybody?
Justin looks
Oh,
like.
Justin.
Justin.
Yeah.
Way up there.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody.
Hello,
Justin.
Justin. Okay, well, shall we start with the Pledge of Allegiance? I don't know if we have one. There it is. Right behind there we go. Sam, would you like to read the pledge, Sam?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so I believe we have a number of guests today. I'm still fairly new to the committee myself, but you're not on the committee anymore, right? So you're.
She's here as an applicant.
As an applicant and guest.
Yes.
And you're still a guest, I think, at this point as well. So
Very happy to be here.
Does everyone have a chance to read Megan yet?
Yes.
Okay, great. And I know you guys are.
Yes.
Are you two guys?
Yeah.
We're the applicants.
Okay.
Chevier.
Yeah, Bubbling.
Oh, great. Oh, nice to meet you both.
Dad, Harry Inch.
Oh, great. Nice to meet you both. And Eric, are you on this committee?
Yes.
You
Yes,
are.
he
Okay, I haven't
is.
seen you in
He
person
is,
yet.
yes.
I wasn't sure.
He is.
And if anybody hasn't met me yet, I'm Madeline Rudolph. So still getting to know everybody at this point coming out of Zoom too. So great. And there's a Zoom etiquette reminder, so just everybody knows them. I don't think, does this room have? the
This is
same
not the hot
microphones?
mic room.
Yeah, it doesn't, I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't think this has the hot mic.
But it's always good
It's
to
good.
know, because rustling papers and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
is-
Yes, never
Is-
fun for
is-
Zoom.
As quiet as you could be at your spot, the better for the Zoom.
I tend to be one of these
Recording.
people. Unfortunately, I will try to keep it down myself. So. Okay, and then we have the application for Megan Miller joining, as applying to join the ECB. I think most of us met Megan, at least virtually, last month. Had a chance to chat about Megan. Does anybody have any questions or anything they might want to ask Megan at this point, or concerns or anything?
I am very free to open it and answer any questions you guys have for me.
I don't know if you want to remind anybody about any of your experience in there at all, or.
I mean, I recently graduated, now it's last May, it's almost been a year, it's
Mhm.
crazy actually, with an environmental science degree from Allegheny College, which is down in Pennsylvania. I now work at Ryan's Wine and Spirits as a manager there, just helping out around the area. And I wanted to get onto this board to sort of get back into like the field that I went in studying for, and to look at what's in the area here.
Mhm.
And how can I help?
Great. Well, we also have another team that I might pull you into, the conservation team.
I would love to hear about it.
So as much time as you have, we can. would love
You'll
to.
steal it.
Right.
Perfect.
I'll give you a heads up, as the new kid on the block, always be careful how much time you offer.
Only me and my
I love when
buddies.
people say
Just-
that.
You start that way, but pick carefully. the things that
Okay.
truly matter, because they will find something to do with you for sure.
I love to be of use, at least for now. Let's just say
Noted.
that.
Great. So I'm not sure at this point, do we usually bring a motion? or-
Yeah, so if everyone is in consensus to welcome Megan, then there would be a motion to do so for us to go to take that resolution to the town board, which we would have time to do for the March meeting. Okay, so,
Second. Second.
all right, so
All
we.
in favor of approving Megan for the ECB member?
Right.
Great, that motion
Thank
passes.
you.
Welcome, Megan.
So yeah, what we'll do, I'll bring a resolution to the town board for their 21st March.
Why are you asking me that now? No, because you're on the town board. I know, and I have to look it up. It's in my phone.
Do you have a pretty robust Google
Yes,
Calendar?
I
I
do.
can see the side of it on a lot
Yes,
of
it's
color.
March 21st.
Okay. So pending approval on March 21st, then you would be a full-fledged member for the April meeting. So I'll keep you posted.
I would love that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good,
The email box
good.
is very open at the
Okay.
moment.
All right.
Never say that either.
I started a brand new, more professional email, so that one's like open.
Awesome.
Nothing on there really.
Well, that'll get filled very
I'm
quickly
sure.
for you.
Oh, yes.
Okay, great.
ER. Thank you.
And I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Gary.
Gary.
Gary?
HINC. Yep, Gary.
Did anyone have any questions about the minutes from February or concerns with them at all? Could I get a motion then to approve the minutes from February?
I'll move to approve the minutes of February.
Anybody want to second that? Okay, great. All in favor of approving the minutes from February?
Aye.
Great. Okay, we have a privilege of the floor period if anybody would like to speak. All right, report from the development office. I'm guessing that would be.
That would be me. We have, the first was our deadline day for April, and I believe we have 10 applications. So we have not yet done our PRC meeting. That'll be on the 14th. So once we do that, we will know what's going to be sent over to the ECB for review. So we're very busy right now. Yeah, we have a lot happening.
Are you often busy in this time of year? Does it get busy?
I think so. This will be my first like full cycle, but March we had 13 applications. That's a lot. That's a lot.
People prepping for summer work.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is pretty typical. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not aware of any specific referrals from the town board.
No.
I don't know if anyone else is, but I've not been instructed to refer anything to the ECB from the town board. I don't believe we have any from the CIC either, or ordinance either.
Ordinance, there are no referrals, but I do want to mention that at their next meeting, which is March 7th, they will be talking about the makeup of the ECB and just maybe adding another two, I believe two. I have to look at it. 2 positions and a student position. So that's really all that we have related to the ECB at this moment.
Okay. We do have a bunch of PRC referrals, however.
We
though,
do,
so-
and I did tell Sarah Lynn that she could go first.
Oh, that is nice. All right, so we're gonna skip down a little bit then. And you are down to, what's your number, 11? Yeah, you're the 22-11, so. I don't know if anybody's probably gonna pull something fabulous up to show us. I actually wrote down for today, because I happen to know a little bit about the area.
Sarah Linda, was your sister, did she give you the landscape plan?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. She is she's a retired landscape designer and contractor.
I wanted to pass that around.
Oh, came prepared too.
I did.
It should be on the board side.
Yeah, I just
Yes.
wanted to pass it around to, this is a visual.
It was in a weird spot, Kimberly. It took me
It
forever to
always
find it too.
is.
There it is, yeah.
It took me a while too. I was like, what the? Thank you. Oh, that's nice.
Where is this?
It's down right next to the lake. It's a lakefront.
Do you live on Westlake, Megan?
Old Westlake Road.
Okay.
It's on part of Mentee Point. Spice bush. I don't even know what that is.
Spice bush is a very native shrub.
Spice bush, yeah, it's nice.
I know we did that.
Very good, very good choice here.
But I think
Is it the black or the cedar type house that's on there, or the-
Yes.
Okay, that's
The
the
one.
one.
Sarah Lynn, if you want to just give a summary of the little house and what's the plan is.
Sure. This is a property that It's at a kind of a unique place on the lake. It's right at the tip of Mentees Point, and Mentees Point is the point that kind of sticks out the longest. Mentees Creek has the biggest watershed of any of the creeks that come into Canandaigua Lake. So there's the delta has, you know, quite a number of houses, and we are fortunate enough to be right at the mouth of the of Mentees Creek. Fortunate in one way in that we got a fabulous view. A little bit less fortunate in that it's a flood-prone area. So, and if you went down there today, Adeline, you might have seen some evidence of brook having actually the ice having broken up and then kind of gotten squeezed at the mouth of the brook, and big ice chunks came floating up and landed in the yard. And you know, that just probably happened within the last couple of days. Always something interesting down there. But this is a property that has been in my family for 100 years this year. My grandparents bought it in 1922. And there was an old kind of Adirondack style cottage there. And over the course of that 100 years, things have changed a bit. The family's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And the number of cottages has increased. First, my uncle built the one we're talking about now, the one we call the little house, as a kind of it was almost like a bunkhouse, just a very rudimentary little place for him and his young family. And then my grandmother built a little house for herself in 1948. So we have one from 38, one from 48. And then in the mid 1960s, the original house burned down and was replaced with another, so that our newest house is actually 1968. And it's a family use property, seasonal only. Nobody lives there in the winter, and our family occupies these 3 cottages with people coming from all over the country to come back to Canandaigua for their vacations. So the oldest of the houses, the little house, is one that is the most seasonal. They're all seasonal, but this is the most seasonal in the sense that it has no heat at all. It's very similar to the Futterman house. For those of you who were on the board last year, remember it has no insulation. You walk inside and you see the structure, the studs and the wood siding you see from the inside. The cathedral ceiling, no bathtub, no shower. You have to go in the lake. I mean, it's a lot like camping. And as the family has gotten bigger and we have more demand for beds, actually, we've been talking for a number of years about maybe it was time to let the little house go and replace it. So we finally have come up with a plan. We're hoping to do this project, remove the little house and rebuild on the same site at the end, beginning after the summer season this year, and hopefully completing it over the winter and ready to go by Memorial Day next year, although that may be optimistic. So as I mentioned, the property is right on the edge of Mentees Creek. The existing building is about 30 feet from the top of the bank of Mentees Creek. And the town's policy is, we know this is in violation of or an exception to the stream setback requirement, which is 100 feet. But the town's policy is that if you have an existing condition, you can continue the existing condition. So our new plan calls for the new house to be put on pretty much the same footprint as the original building. The little house is just about 500 square feet now. It really is a small building, plus a screen porch. So you add in the screen porch, it's about 625 feet. And the new house is going to be on the same line, be at the same setback from the creek. So it does not get any closer to the creek than the existing one, which means it doesn't need a variance, or it's got a kind of an automatic variance. And the new footprint is going to be about 775 square feet, plus a screen porch of another 125 feet. So it's still a small house by the standards of most of the things that you'll see construction along the lakefront. The existing house is 1 story. This is going to be a story and a half. So there will be a second floor. And the existing house is 3 bedrooms. I'm sorry, the existing house has 2 bedrooms. And the new house is going to have 3 bedrooms. So it will be an increase in, we will accommodate that by enlarging the septic system, which is a relatively new septic system, actually, built in 2012 with the leach field out near Westlake Road. It's pumped from this building out to a leach field that's actually above the floodplain. So the new house will be technically a year-round house, although our intention is to continue the existing use, which is shared by a whole lot of family members over the course, mainly in the summer. And we're, people are gradually beginning to come earlier in the spring and stay earlier in the fall. But we've never, in that 100 years, we've never had anybody actually occupy the place all winter. But the new house is going to be possible to occupy all year round. I don't know of anybody that has immediate plans to try it, but I wouldn't be surprised that somebody didn't, get up the nerve to actually try and spend the winter down there sometime in the next 20
Still
years, let's
beautiful.
say. Who knows? I'm not sure it's going to be me because it can be pretty forbidding down there. In addition to being low, it's also pretty windy. Sometimes when there's wind anywhere on the lake, it kind of slams right into them. But so it'll have heat at least, and it'll have a bathtub. So it's going to be a big step forward from
Insulation,
our
heat,
existing
bathtub,
solution.
and a phone charging station probably.
So as you know, one of the things you need to do, since this is in the floodplain, the current rules say that you need to have your first floor 2 feet above the floodplain. And floodplain is now, right now, the first floor is just about at the floodplain. It's 691. The new house first floor has to be 693.7. So this house is going to be elevated, significantly above where grade is now. And we're going to accommodate that by bringing in some fill to sort of gradually raise and create a platform for the house to sit on, and then landscape that kind of zone around the house as a rock garden like thing with native shrubs. And we have a lot of gardeners in the house, in the family, so that's going to be a very key aspect of the project, is
What are you
paying
doing
close attention to that.
for a foundation?
We have looked at a bunch of options, and we're thinking about a crawl space. It's not going to be on piers. That's what the current house is. It's on concrete piers, but this one is going to have a full foundation, and we're actually going to fill and make it a slab on grade rather than have a crawl space because of the flooding situation. You're I think in some ways asking for trouble if you try to build a
Deep hole.
even if it's a tight crawl space, there are issues with ventilation and dampness and so on. So that seems to be the way we're going to go.
What's been the experience with flooding of the existing home over the many decades?
The property has flooded repeatedly,
Yeah.
actually, over our 100 years. We've got pictures from the flood of 1933.
The great flood of
That was the
33.
great flood. That was comparable to Hurricane Agnes, actually. And I've got pictures of my grandparents rowing around the yard in a boat. And then at Hurricane Agnes, this house with the floor level of 691 was underwater, completely underwater. The floor was underwater by 8 inches or something like that. And actually, that was true of one of the other cottages as well. Since then, at the times when the whole lake floods, like for instance, 94, which was a couple of years after the ice storm, there was a full lake flood event. And again, I remember I was rowing around the yard. But it didn't actually, that event didn't flood the little house. The lake came about up to where the little house was. Maybe it didn't quite get to the floor of the little house anyway. But the thing that we do have more frequently is flooding of Mentees Creek, which affects the property. Not lake floods, but creek floods will bring the water. It'll actually jump the banks back about halfway back to Westlake Road, and it comes down through the woods. And this house is right in the path of that brook flooding, and so that's been one of the problems with it. So one of the concerns, and we have Mark's Engineering, we're working with them on the site work and the utility connections and everything. And we talked with them about the path of flood water and trying to direct the floodwaters when they happen. We can't stop them. So trying to minimize the damage, because there's, we clean. When they get in the house, you got to dry everything out and, you do it, and it's an expense and a nuisance. And same thing with the grounds. You end up with all this debris and logs, mud, silt, and everything, and you got a whole season of cleaning up after them.
Sure.
But if you want to go to the next sheet on this, which is the proposed site plan. So the area in front of this building, when I say in front, I mean towards the lake, is an open grassy area, and that's a recreation space. We use it for croquet and frisbee and badminton and whatever. So we want to keep that open. But we want to have the floodwaters come towards the creek from the new structure, and then come down between the new structure and the one that is closest to the point, to get down to the lake. And what Brennan suggested was that we create a kind of a oversized French drain there. We create a channel that's gravel, and then put a grass surface over the top of it, so it doesn't affect the use of that recreation space, but it does provide a distinct path for the flood waters when they're coming to sink into the ground there, and then it would be piped from the corner of the circular driveway there down to the beach.
Resistance, so to speak.
Yeah, so you have some filtering through all the gravel in the French drain, and you have opportunity for infiltration into, to the extent that you can. Obviously, the water table is high because we're so close to the lake, but this seems like a good plan. And we're just going to play it by decade when it comes to flood management. We always like the idea of maintaining a very strong stream buffer at the creek itself, just to sort of let all the leaves and logs and everything else build up and up and up, so that we have a kind of a natural berm that creates itself along the edge there and helps to keep the water in the stream. So on let's see, we talked about the landscaping and septic system. Chris Jensen had one comment about this, which had to do with parking and hard surface parking. The town's building standards say that you should have a hard surface parking space for every building, at least one, I guess. Our practice with parking has been to park on the grass always. We don't have any hard surface paving on the property at all. And we have a gravel driveway that comes down from Westlake Road and then goes around this building, serving the 3 cottages and the barn. It seems, and our proposal is to, we've identified a spot, which is right next to the building, which would be the dedicated parking location for this building. If the town can do it, we would request an exception to the hard surface parking requirement for this, because it just seems a little silly, since you've got a dirt and gravel driveway, for 600 feet or something like that, and then all of a sudden you have to have a hard surface space for your car. That just doesn't seem like it makes a whole lot of sense.
Would you be willing to entertain the grass pavers?
We
got
have
some
looked at-
really good prototypes that we found that are actually being used on Island, I think in one of the other applications.
Yeah. What about an area that's intermittently flooded though? How they would
How they would
stand
drain,
up,
right?
Yeah, we have talked about those quite a bit,
Yeah.
various different ways of creating a stable surface. I mean, they're an expensive thing, and
They are.
this would not be a high priority for us, and we kind of feel like we could see, if anybody did decide to try to use this in the winter, then they're gonna have to deal with a number of issues having to do with access to the parking
Right.
area, but
Right.
it's gonna have to be plowed, but at that, we'd sort of like to deal with it at that point, rather than
After
having to
the
deal
fact,
with it
right,
now.
right.
Yeah. So I don't know. I haven't gotten back to Chris yet to ask him if there's a possibility for a waiver of that. Or is that something I
I
would
think the
just
planning
ask the
board
planning
could,
board?
I think the planning board could waive it per your request.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is that a variance or?
There are waiver mechanisms for things like that.
We're always pro less coverage
Yes,
anyway.
I was just gonna
so
say, we,
I
you
know,
know,
it's-
taking pavement out.
Just say
is
ECB
always
is good with that.
Especially that close to both the stream and the lake.
Yeah.
Right,
Where
right.
the primary use is seasonal
Seasonal.
anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so Makes sense.
You know,
Well,
I had
I
no
can say,
problem going in today.
Well, that's good. I mean, there are areas where, the ground gets soft, if it's in a rainy period, and then you get ruts in the lawn, and it gets to be kind of messy looking, but that really hasn't been the case, because the parking for all three cottages that we typically use is behind this house, it's away from the lake, and of course, people do come down and they drive up close to one of the cottages if they want to unload a car, or get somebody who's got mobility problems close. We can certainly do that, but for the most part, we've kept the parking in the back, and the grass does grow. It's under a shady area, so it's not the world's most vigorous grass, but it's green anyway in the summer, and it works fine. So
Is that whole section basically owned by members of your family then?
the parcel is 8 acres.
Okay,
So yeah, we own all the way back
It's
to
all,
Westlake
yeah.
Road, and we have about 200 feet of lake frontage.
So all of the cottages in there are all with your family. Okay.
The three cottages.
Yeah.
And it's also, it's a pre-existing non-conforming use
Mhm.
too, just because, Megan, this is something you'll find out that we allow one dwelling unit per parcel.
Mhm.
But this pre-exists that regulation, so she's
Grandfathered
able,
in.
yeah, it's grandfathered in, yep, as long as it's not expanding significantly and moving closer to the lake, and so. Yeah.
And then 100-year precedent for the setback variance.
Right,
from
that's
the- from the
probably pretty
creek is,
good.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
lot.
Hard to argue.
Right,
But
right, absolutely.
You see trout in the stream?
They still do
There
this
are trout in the stream. I mean, it is a trout spawning
Right, yeah,
area.
yeah, it's designated as-
They used to
You don't
smelt fish
really-
like crazy. in
Oh,
there
smelting,
in the
yes, it's a
spring.
big
Really?
smelting area.
Wow.
Huge
Or it
smelting.
was funny, it used to be a
It used to
very,
be huge.
very
Yeah.
active smelting area, and then when the zebra mussels came,
Yes.
the smelts dried up,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
But then- but now
Hundreds of
the-
cars there. in
I
this
know,
room.
but now the smelts are back, or they're
Yeah.
coming
Oh,
back
are they?
anyway. They are, yes, now that the zebra mussels have died off. I don't know how the quagga mussels feel about trout, but anyway.
Oh, I remember that every spring. It was like, what?
Yeah, they park up. no, it's
Full
quite-
disclosure,
quite
I
a-
used to live basically.
You were
next
down
to yours.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were, our house was in between your other house and this area.
So any other questions?
Any concerns?
Hey, sorry, this is Justin. I'm kind of on child duty too, so I may have missed any discussion you had on, I guess, the trench. And Shoreline, did you guys, when they were designing it, do you know if they looked at potentially utilizing the driveway as an infiltration point or a way for the water, kind of a dual use with that, or just it was probably easier to make the sink or whatever right there in the lawn area?
The driveway has been used as a driveway and compacted for so long that I don't think it really functions very well as an infiltration area. And I can say that because the driveway itself has been the principal path of the flood waters as they
Okay.
Come out of the woods and they rush down towards the road. And it doesn't really look as if anything is settling, any water is settling in through the through the driveway. It's just so, I mean, it does have a grass strip down the middle, so it's not all quite as compacted, but the two, sort of side pieces that get the weight of the vehicles. I don't think that there's a whole lot of infiltration going.
And then I guess for the daylighting trench that's gonna go in there, I mean, obviously, I see on the figure, it's all drawn out where the infiltration is, that they're gonna make an effort to protect the trees and stuff, and I'm just assuming like the cottonwood and the maple down there, the same things will be applied to those, just trying to avoid the root systems when they're putting them.
Yes, we definitely don't want to lose any trees because of this. So while he's showing that as a straight line, we'll probably make them, make a great big S curve to avoid the root zones of those trees, because those are important. And also, by the time you get over there, it's not going to have to be a very deep trench. I mean, I think I'm sorry, the pipe that goes from the circle down towards the lake, I think will probably be, range from maybe 18, 12 to 18 inches deep down to only, 6 inches below grade or something like that. Because
And I guess with those designs, do you have to worry about, like with leach fields, the tree roots kind of filling those up? Is there any maintenance involved in that, do you know? That might impact, I guess, their functionality?
I can ask Brennan about that. There are two pretty sizable trees on the creek side of the circle there, a basswood and a walnut, and their roots will be affected by the excavation there. But again, we can sort of move it away enough so that we don't want to sever any roots that are going to compromise the structural stability of those trees.
Right.
So maybe we ought to shift it over a little bit.
Yeah, it's like a placeholder, but all attention is going to be on those trees. That's good.
Right. Yeah, that's
Okay,
good.
all right, that's all I had. Thank you.
Any other questions? Any specific recommendations we want to pass up the line? Okay. Great.
Thank you, Sarah Linda.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Good luck.
You're welcome to stay.
Well, are you going to have further discussion?
No,
No,
we like to have you here.
Consult with you on others.
Right, on other projects.
You can pull the chair up if you want to. Yeah, exactly.
Shannon Chevier, 2203. Thank you for coming.
I like to meet people. We're new in town-ish.
Yeah, how long have you lived here?
2 years, actually. We moved in this week 2 years ago.
Okay.
Oh, well, that's funny.
And then a week later, COVID shut everything down. So we
Yeah,
never got out.
That's what
We
I was
never left
thinking.
your house. That's right.
It's a rough time to have moved to a new town in March of 2020.
It gives you a huge excuse to get fully unpacked.
Yeah.
Right, and settled in.
This stuff.
Yeah, your home improvement project must have been
Oh,
great.
yeah.
Well, I promise we're a very active community, much more than you've seen in the last 2 years, that's for sure.
We love it here so far.
Good.
Beautiful GIS map.
Oh, we've got some good maps.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Mhm.
Do you want to tell us about your project?
Sure. So basically where you want to
I don't.
build a 2-car garage right next to the existing garage. It's a pole barn style construction. There's already driveway there that is flat and level, so it's simply building the garage right on that same site. What happens though is we do have the creek runs across the property. And it's actually right at the dividing line of our property and the neighbors. And we, where this garage will sit it's literally in line with the existing garage, so that the doors line up and everything at our driveway pad with that pad at the bottom. But the corner of the garage will be within the 100-foot zoning requirement for of the stream
Mhm.
bed. So we are asking for a variance to be, I think we end up at 72 feet, close, so we're a bit closer to the stream. One of the important things we like to point out, though, is there is significant, you can see it in this map better than any, or in this drawing better than anywhere, there's significant banking. So it's not only that we're 72 feet from the creek, but we're also a good 20-25 foot drop from where the floor of the garage would be to where the stream is as well.
Thanks. You're very excited about
I
this.
love that. She's so excited.
Have to show her how to
I-
plug
I'm a
into
Mac girl,
Encore.
too.
Oh, I'm gonna, yeah.
I just gave her
Yeah,
the.
fun with that.
I go play with Encore.
Yeah.
I love Encore is.
Yeah, it's great.
Yes.
Yeah, so sorry, I can go through the referral and the write-up I did for this if you guys are ready.
Thank you, Justin.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, thanks, Justin. Go ahead, go right
And
ahead.
I apologize in advance if my kids run in here screaming.
All acceptable.
So yeah, thank you for kind of giving an overview of that. Yeah, the main point, as you said, is just it's a 2-car detached garage that'll be going in there. And it's the stream setback. That's the reason for the variance. And this is similar to other, I guess, sites we've seen where they're within the 100-foot setback of the stream. This one happens to be one of the tributaries for Sucker Brook that runs through there. Which is identified as a DEC Class C stream. And I had a little definition there that I can bring up in the recommendations when I go over that. But also, we've reviewed similar properties in the area, and this is one of the few examples we have in the town of a silver maple ash swamp area, which are generally of higher value when they're looking at lands of conservation in the town of Canandaigua. So we generally, when they're in these areas, you know, these are the areas we want to make sure we're protecting as best we can and making sure that they're in compliance, just because it's a resource we don't have a lot of in the town. It also happens to be located adjacent to a federally listed wetland, which is that silver maple ash swamp area that's in between, I guess, yours and the neighbor's property there, kind of the lower portion when you're driving down the road. And that also is within the strategic farmland protection area. I don't think you guys are doing much farming there. I didn't get a chance to actually get out to the property, but I know it's a 10-acre site with fields located around there. One of the other concerns I did have when I was going through it is I know like in the application, you had made a note that it's in a previously developed area, kind of where your driveway is. You do have this steep slope there that runs off into, I guess, the creek area or the creek bed area. And one of the things I was trying to look through when I was looking through the pre-builts for the barn / garage is I didn't really see how, I guess, any kind of surface water coming off the building, how that was going to be addressed. I don't know if there's going to be gutters or just poured off into the ground. And then the idea being during, you know, these major storm events we get now, that's a large amount of water that could potentially be coming off, going over to the steep area and causing additional erosion that might not be there otherwise. So this is like one of the concerns.
And we will have, we do intend to put gutters up on the downslope, and there is also plans to do a French drain in front of.
Okay. Yeah, so that stuff will help mitigate, you know, the erosional force of that additional water coming off, and then,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know, dissipate some of that energy too when you funnel that water into a certain area. So that's good that that's also being looked at in the designs for this. But yeah, so I mean, it was pretty straightforward with the application. For the recommendations, it's pretty standard what we do. In general, you know, the ECB encourages the planning board in town to adhere to the watercourse setbacks provided in the town code. And we continue to advocate for a higher stream buffer. I think it was 150 we identify in the open space plan and the natural resources inventory. And then, as I mentioned earlier, you know, these Class C streams support fisheries and kind of non-contact recreational activities. And then also because, you know, you're within the Sucker Brook floodplain, basically. Sucker Brook is very prone to flooding. So any additions to that or anything that might change that water flow has generally bigger influences. And then for the final, I guess, recommendation is, we strongly encourage any kind of soil erosion control during the construction activities at the lot, especially due to the sensitive lands that you're bordering. And then obviously, the last part I had, you addressed earlier, is just that the applicant should identify any stormwater mitigation plan for the structure to reduce the potential for erosion at the site. And, the French drain, and then, how you guys would mitigate that would obviously play into it, reducing that and the erosional forces that would occur because of it.
Right.
Sorry, that was kind of the quick and dirty of the little write-up I had. Obviously, is there any questions or any additional info you needed on my end?
Justin, did I was actually going to look at this project before I moved on to another one. And I did some measurements, and what did you come up with? Because it actually, you said it was 85 feet, but it looked like it was 85 feet right from the house or from the existing garage, and not from the outside of the pole barn you're building.
Yeah, it looks like it would be kind of encompassed. I don't know. The only problem is, like, you have these aerials that are uploaded in there, and there is going to be some drift, or it's not going to be quite accurate. So without the actual true measurements from the center out there.
The only concern I had was that if it was, if it turned out to be only 50 or 60 feet, then obviously that would raise even greater concerns.
Right, when Rocco did the Spinizia, he did the redid the survey
Okay.
with the planned building on there, and he had accurate measurements of the stream and of the flow. And it's actually, his measurement is 72, so I was off 3 feet.
72
72, so
to where to the edge of where the pole barn would be.
Yes.
Facing the creek. So.
Yep, to the closest point of the
To the
creek,
center
because
line of
it's
the
kind of
stream.
a,
Okay.
mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
and it kind of does a,
it
we do
meanders.
there?
It does,
Right.
yeah,
and so
it
we
does.
went to the center of the closest point.
Right.
Mhm.
And you can see it's marked on there where he's
Yeah.
measuring to and from.
Okay. Yeah. Did
So
you?
a large portion of that would be within that 100-foot setback. And if it's to the nearest edge, right? If it's 72 and it's 24 wide, basically.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah. Did you consider the possibility of putting it opposite the existing garage?
That wouldn't solve anything. Because otherwise, where the driveway comes through, we'd actually be closer to the creek on the other side.
Over here. Huh, okay. Thinking if it was.
Because you
wherever the-
turn it, meaning you,
Yeah, if you bring up the photo, there's like a storage shed there now, I think.
Yep.
So you'd be recommended like next to that, yeah, it would still be within. This is just one of those things where when it was built, it was pushed as far back out to the property line, and that
Yeah.
unfortunately limits what you can do in between, the existing structures and the back part of the parcel.
Yeah, that was the only question I had.
Yeah, so that thick yellow line would be, is that the 100-foot setback then on this? Yeah, looks like it is.
It would be.
it is,
Yeah, so as you go down the length of the garage, you actually come further away
right.
from the creek. So that front corner is the tightest point.
Okay.
And you mentioned soil erosion while we're constructing. Again, it's already driveway there. So we're not intending to do any excavation or anything. It literally is a build on top of what's already flat.
Okay, so there's not going to be any concrete work or any kind of paved area put underneath it. It's just gonna.
It'll pave on top. Right now it's crushed stone because our whole driveway is the crushed stone. And so we'll put concrete floor 5 inches up above on top of what's existed, the crushed stone. Yep, after the pole barn is erected. That makes sense.
Any other questions or concerns? Any further discussion at all needed? Great. Great.
Thank you for being so involved in your applications. It's
Oh, I'm learning a
refreshing.
lot.
Yeah, it's been nice to see you at meetings.
We have 3 more meetings to go.
Yeah, you're almost halfway done.
Oh, you've been zooming in at town board meetings, all sorts of
She's
stuff.
not kidding.
I've seen.
Yeah, so you were at the kickoff.
I
Gosh,
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I intended to be in person on that one too, but it was one of those, the alarm went off. It's like, oh, shoot.
Well, if you keep showing up, then we'll have to.
I was gonna say, we need to open up the back gate for you. It's
Yeah,
such a short
yeah.
commute.
That's
right. But we're always looking for volunteers. That's what I mean.
I've actually been watching for that, so
Okay.
no problem.
All right.
So what happens next?
Next you will go to the ZBA meeting, and that's
Okay.
your final meeting. You don't have, there's no planning board approval.
Okay.
So that's,
Next
15th.
The 15th.
Yes.
That one will be Zoom because I'm on vacation.
Enjoy.
All right, thank you all.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we want to go to Sandy Beach Drive next, or anybody have preference on that, or? 364.
Either one.
Shauna, do you
Let's start
need
with
the
Sandy
stats,
Beach
please?
then. Okay.
Can I just say I'm impressed at how it's like you have like a magical bookbinder over there. You just keep pulling all these cool
Thank
things
you.
out of
Thank
there.
you.
Yes, yes, I do love maps too.
Yeah.
My favorite college course was hand cartography.
Oh,
That was
Oh.
like,
I
oh
love
my
maps. I
gosh.
want, one of these days I want to come in this room and just like
Yeah,
download all these
maps.
maps into my brain because I love them. Every time I'm in here, I just wish I could spend more time with these maps.
Can I ask what's on the board here too? Is
Oh, that
I
is,
noticed this.
Oh,
that
that's the
is,
chart Doug made.
yeah, Doug, our town manager, tried to summarize conservation efforts and where we go and the possibilities and the avenues, and he did a great job.
He's got an actual flow chart. He did
We hate
email
to
me
erase
so-
it.
That,
I know,
well,
I
Kim
wouldn't wanna
took
erase
that.
it
Kim was
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh,
Took
he
that
did.
and put it
It's
in.
in a flow chart.
Yeah,
I
in a
saw
flow
that at
chart.
the meeting the other
Actually,
night.
Kim
Doug's
did that.
presentation that he shared the other night is even better than his.
Yes. Yeah, if you look
Yeah.
at the CIC.
Oh, I'd love to see
President,
that.
I will send it to you.
Tuesday. I
This
think.
morning, Sarah Reynolds.
Is there any way to tilt the camera down so I can see it, or?
No, no,
This is
sorry.
This cran zone or
Justin, if you
something
go
else.
to the CIC meeting from Tuesday night, I think that was probably
Okay.
about 20 minutes into the CIC. meeting.
Right,
But you can
thank you.
also, I sent it to the planning board. We can send it to this board.
I'll
Yeah.
be doing the minutes, so.
She gonna tell
That'd be
you.
good.
Have you got it? Yeah, you've got it, because Doug sent it to you.
we got
too.
it.
Okay, great.
Oh, yes.
So Sandy Beach Drive, I want you to throw up the
Did you go to
picture.
Sandy
I went to
Beach?
Sandy Beach.
Oh, okay.
That's a
Yeah,
lot more
did I get
time than
recorded?
it probably is.
No, but that
Did you go,
reminds
Joe?
me, everyone has their new.
Ah,
Good.
Our official badge.
That's
So
great.
now,
Thank
when
you.
you're trespassing.
Yes.
So can you explain a little bit to Megan about why we would need these?
Right, so often, well, we assign or members volunteer to go to sites
Mhm.
and then do a report. So
This is our warrant to get on their premises.
basically,
pretty
so
much.
you can.
Yes, it prevents a lot of problems.
Right.
Right. It helps them
Who
look
are
more
you
official.
and what are you
It's very
doing here? Yes.
Why are you walking? Why can't I see you out my window?
Yes.
Justin, do you ever
Yeah.
come up here to town hall?
She's talking.
Talking to
Yes,
Justin.
Justin's
What's
muted.
that? Sorry.
Do you want us to mail your,
No, I can come down there. I've been down there periodically. Sorry.
that's all right.
Alrighty.
Oh, is this the Sandy Beach house?
This is
Sandy
Sandy Beach, and actually Eric
so
joined me in looking at this property. And I was gonna send this to you, but I did it 5 minutes before I came here, so.
No, it's okay.
So, anyhow, so this is a 100-year-old cottage, many of them on.
I didn't realize it was so old.
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah,
that's good to know.
1922. And the application is for demolition of this and
Oh,
subsequent construction of a single-family home. with an attached garage. This is on a 0.24 acre lot, and the PRC recommended our ECB review. This is one of the lots on Sandy Beach where across the street, there's often a detached garage and
Yes.
maybe some other accessory buildings and then another part of the lot. So it's kind of broken down a little more on the other side than on the lake side. That tree is going to be, and is going to come down. They're removing all the vegetation. I thought this was a red maple. I found an oak leaf underneath it. Eric thought it might be a willow. Edith could probably tell us what this is, but it's not quite.
Look at it.
Yeah, you know,
See the
winter
bark
time,
better.
it's got an ambiguous bark on it. But anyhow, it's a nice 16-inch tree. There's a couple arborvitaes here and there.
Deer candy.
So the proposed project is going to include removal of all the trees and landscaping is currently present. If you pull up the elevation file, that'll give you an idea what this is going to be replaced with. So it's a single family home with a 2-car garage in front. There also is the detached garage across the street. And we can go to the site plan. So variances are being requested for setbacks and lot coverage. The property is in a floodplain. The floodplain goes all the way over on the other side. And grading is proposed. It's kind of, along the lines of what Sarah Linda was telling us about the finished floor elevation. I didn't know what FF was on these site plans until I figured out finished floor. So, so they FF, they give the different heights. So it's going to be raised 4 feet from what it is currently, probably again to accommodate some potential from flooding. So there's going to be significant grading to accomplish that. The house will be, built on a slab as the current structure is. So the proposed setbacks will be 7.46 feet on the north side of the property, whereas currently 15 feet. And on the south side, 6 feet, whereas now 4.28 feet. So increasing the setback on the one side, decreasing it on the other side. Front setback is 35 feet in the rear. The lakeside setback is 50 feet. On the lake, the rear is still facing the lake, is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Like in the rear setback, if you're on the lake side, is the lake side. That's what we always refer to as.
It'd be helpful to pull up Encore so you can see.
Let's do that. Yeah.
What the Sandy Beach properties look like.
Sandy Beach properties are
Unique.
Cheek by
Narrow,
jowl.
narrow
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And they have garages, a lot of times they're on the other side of the road.
Has there been any movement on, I guess, rezoning this area, or no? I know it was discussed in a couple.
Yeah, that's in my recommendations, because it seems every few months we bring this up and
Yes.
talk about the fact that the ordinance committee needs to
Shoehorn.
do something.
The town of Middlesex has that issue.
Same
Town of
thing.
Gorham has that issue with
Yeah.
these narrow, once upon
You
a time,
told me
narrow
about that.
cottage
Yeah.
lots.
That's what
100
they
years
were.
ago, it was a thing
Yeah.
to do.
But then the grand homes came to be and variances happened and
Yeah,
here we are.
yeah.
Like mansion. So this is Encore.
This is
I was
Encore,
telling
this
you
is
about
wonderful.
some.
This is like
Encore is
changing.
super fun. It's like, you can like.
I can't tell if you're being sarcastic.
No, it
is.
If you're a
It
map
really
person,
is.
you can go down
You
a
love
rabbit
it,
hole on
yes.
this for many,
Oh,
many,
okay.
many hours
can-
and
somebody
dream
like
about
yours.
which one you're gonna buy next.
Yeah.
Yeah, give her the tools.
Yeah, get rid of the.
I'm not
Yeah.
buying much of anything in my
If you
current.
open up the screen, just maximize the whole Encore, and then
Yeah, what do
you can hit the arrow.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, see, I didn't even know.
And if you X out the tools.
Yeah,
at the
you can
top
close-
right,
There you go, that
it'll
helps,
even
yeah.
make it
Look at the
worse.
little
Oh,
box.
yeah.
There you go. Wow.
So the yellow outlines the
There we
property
go.
boundaries, and if you click on it, it'll tell you all the details of what's in the soil and, who the owners are, et
Yeah,
cetera.
so it really shows you how this is broken down, and then up on to the north east is actually designated wetland. Doesn't include, but
All the
obviously the whole
trees
thing
and
is in
stuff
the floodplain. The neighbor was there while I was there visiting, and he talked about the fact that this frequently floods.
Yeah.
On the north side, between their houses is a French, I'm talking about French drains, there's a French drain with some kind of a sump pump arrangement. There's a foot of snow on the ground, so I don't.
Sump
able to
pump
see what exactly, yeah, that's his description, but I don't know what it would be pumping out of, what area, if there's some kind of a
Well,
cistern
yeah,
or something, or
That
very strange.
seems odd, yeah.
Probably
just
So
going back
there
to the
is a-
lake.
I was gonna say, where is that going?
Into the lake.
That would
into
be
the
my
lake, of
guess.
course, yeah.
So the total lot size is 10,446 feet, 6,653 feet are on the lake side.
Can we tell what the setback is from the southern side right now? It's crazy.
It looks like
It's-
it's on the property
There
line.
should be
Yeah, I
an
think it's-
existing conditions
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
map
it's
in that
4.
package.
Four-
I think it's 4 feet.
No.
On the south.
4.28 feet.
It's
Hold
real
on,
squished in
let's
there.
zoom in.
Yeah,
4 feet
so it's
now.
like that.
Yeah.
Wow,
Oh.
that's crazy.
So another cool feature that I actually use a lot is this bar here, this our
Mhm.
pictometry.
Mhm.
So you can go back in time and see changes that have been made to properties. Yeah, I do it over in like on Middle Cheshire a lot.
Oh, yeah, if you do that in my house. it's
Yeah.
like it's like
Yeah,
another
we've
world.
looked at that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How
so
far back
Yes,
does it
very
go?
interesting, like that.
you can,
Tw-
it goes back to
2006.
2006, you can see how pixely,
21 last
and
year.
then it goes up to
Current
current.
day.
Yeah, so you can just see what's been
Some
happening.
modifications.
Yeah.
Spying tool.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
It's like Google Maps, but like better.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
so much better.
So the existing total lot coverage is 4,086 feet, which is 39% lot coverage. On the lake side, it's 28% of that portion of the parcel, which is 1,889 feet. So the proposed total lot coverage is going to be 34%. So improvement overall, because they're making modifications. You see in front of that garage, that detached garage on the right is asphalt.
They're
They're
taking
gonna-
that out.
They're gonna tear that out
That's
and use this grass paver, true grid grass paver area. So that's how they improved their total lot coverage. And went from 34 down to 28%. Yeah, so
Is
yeah,
there only that one tree you said, or is there multiple on the?
there's a couple
There's a
small
couple
trees
of
on
smaller
the
ones
backside.
in the back, yeah,
Yeah.
or in the front.
So the replacement structure, and we can look at the site plan again, is going to be bigger. So even though they gained some by getting rid of that asphalt on the other side, they're covering a lot more of the lakeside part of the parcel. In comparing it, it's 45% of the parcel will be covered, compared to before. It was, what I have, 34%. 75 coverage, total lot coverage.
Did they have a garage in the house structure previously, or is that, because it looks like
No.
the
I
new
don't
one.
think
So
so.
Like
they're
that.
gonna have
Yeah.
a garage in the
In the
new house
in the new
structure
house and across the
across.
street. So the lot coverage on the lakeside is going from 28% to 45%. So pretty significant.
It is.
They are, removing the concrete walkway and patio area and replacing it with patio blocks, which are permeable, not pervious. And what's really adding on to the lot coverage is this extra garage. The neighbor's concerned about losing the setback, which he's enjoying on his side of the property. He's off to the north. Also, obviously, expressed concerns about the.
That's how you got to talk to you.
Maybe we'll do that.
And it's increased southerly setback, right? That looks like that's more than 4 feet.
Yeah. So that increased
Yeah.
a little bit, a couple feet.
So 6, great.
So, the concerns, this parcel is in a flood zone, in a proximity of a designated wetland. There are no endangered species which appear to be impacted, that's just good. Frequent flooding already occurs in this area per report of a neighbor, who also noted the existence of the French drain and sump pump running along the north edge of the property. Climate changes may certainly result in more serious future drainage concerns. Although the removal of the asphalt parking area on the parcel portion of the east side of Sandy Beach Drive has decreased the total lot coverage area. The coverage on the lake side has increased significantly, limiting options there for green infrastructure drainage solutions. They propose putting in grassy swales on either side of the house, but again, it's very pretty limited space to do that
4-foot swales,
for sure. Again, the healthy 16-inch hardwood tree is gonna go by the wayside.
Are they replacing it with anything?
They do a
Well, they did a landscaping plan, and it
Let me
has,
bring that one up. I
Yeah.
read
They
that
put some
one.
willows.
We just
yeah,
had that.
it has.
It's not a willow, you can see that.
No, I'm saying at least that would suck some of the
Oh,
water.
yes,
It
putting
has-
one in, yeah.
has
I
a-
see what you mean.
It has a non-native ornamental maple tree in the backyard, I think. And then a lot of shrubbery,
Yeah.
but
And none native
no
except the
native.
pinkberry.
That
That
was
is the
only
one
native.
and only
Okay.
one native.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that noted? We should note that.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were putting in things like miscanthus and
Mm.
the Norway maple, the crimson
Oh.
king. So, I mean, they're putting in a lot of
A
unfriendly
lot
stuff.
of, yeah.
Yeah. So recommendations, replacement of the asphalt parking areas with the true grid grass paver system is commended. This or other pervious or porous ground cover in lieu of the proposed patio pavers about the house should be considered to improve water management. Although the total lot coverage is decreased with the removal of the asphalt, the lakeside portion of the property will have a significant increase in ground coverage, limiting options to mitigate stormwater drainage concerns. As much as possible, it would seem advisable to maintain the existing house structure footprint with existing side setbacks to facilitate drainage to the lake by proposed grassy swales or other green infrastructure, stormwater management measures elsewhere on the property. This may necessitate reconsideration of the need of an attached garage. Again, to Justin's point, ECB has previously commented on the unique characteristics of Sandy Beach with century-old cottages, which have been updated, replaced over time with larger structures. We have commented before that this ongoing granting of variances gives the impression the town is not serious about maintaining site development standards for this neighborhood. Because every time it's a variance, another variance.
Did they happen to pre-research? I didn't spend a whole lot of time looking through this one, but sometimes they'll go up and down the road. The developer, whoever's presenting the plan, and will call out variances that were granted through
Right.
the years.
Yeah.
That was not.
They did
that.
Sometimes that
They
happens,
do see that
Yeah.
because it helps,
Sure.
For
you
the
know, the people
precedent.
reviewing it to see
Yeah.
what's happening,
Yeah.
you know, in other
I
properties.
think the last one we did was, existing footprint. So this
Yeah.
one's different in
Yeah.
that they're, throwing in this
But
garage.
that's always desirable to keep the existing.
Yeah,
It's interesting how you called out lakeside coverage. I think that's a really good point. And
Yeah,
that's
it
something
is.
we should think about.
yeah, because if you have this open area across the street, but in
Absolutely.
terms of the.
Yeah,
It's
as
impact.
far as
drainage and
lakefront,
Yeah, you
it's
cover
making it
everything.
much worse, yeah.
Right.
Well, and it also affects neighbors' view sheds very much so. when
Yeah.
you're changing that. I mean,
Yeah,
Hey, Gary, do you, for when they rip out that asphalt, I see it's just gonna be grass pavers.
right.
Has that changed? I mean, will that be considered, I guess, non-developed at that point, even though it's pavers?
They got rid of that in terms of their
Right,
calculations
they're not.
of coverage, so it's not, yeah.
They're not considered coverage, Justin.
Okay, because, yeah, I thought they were looking at that for getting reductions if they were using.
Yeah,
permit-
that's how they did it.
That's how they did it
Yeah.
with the grass paver.
Yeah.
What, is there any interpretation of how we deal with pervious, porous ground? How does that calculated? Is there an offset with?
Yeah,
use of
these
those
would be
materials?
completely offset.
Those would, but how
Yeah,
about these
we
other
look at-
materials?
We just look at it individually.
Okay, because they're not, they're doing these patio pavers, which doesn't. seem to
Those
be-
won't count.
I wouldn't think.
Yeah, yeah, but like, for instance, on the Tishner Point, their new house with the rain garden, not rain garden, with the green roof.
Mhm.
That's something we've never seen, and how, how we'll consider that for stormwater
Mhm.
management or impervious versus
Mhm.
pervious. I mean, they have enough room there, but still there has to be a calculation somehow.
Sure.
What, do we
sure.
know what the living square footage, if it was comparable on the prior house versus the current
I
house?
think it was 2 stories. I don't know. if
Is
I
there,
have the total.
is there an
There's an
existing?
existing
There should be
There ought to be
an
an
existing
existing-
condition.
Yeah, I had
survey
trouble.
out there.
looking
We've
at
asked
this
them-
picture. It was very
We've
difficult
asked
to look
them
at.
to
That should
clean
be
up the
part of the
plan a little bit
package.
more. It's
What it looks like
It was
now.
very confusing.
What are we
yeah.
looking for?
An existing.
I'm like,
conditions
wondering what the
plan.
existing
There
square
you go,
footage.
existing conditions,
livable
that's what you want.
spaces
It's
versus-
still,
So that's what's there. now.
that's the current house right
Oh,
now.
yeah, there is a lot more. Do they have the high, is it like Otisiana where it's much higher on the lake part than the garage
The
part
Sandy
too?
Beach side?
Yeah,
No.
or is it, okay, so it's.
No,
pretty
that's
straight.
It's
very-
pretty flat
very
flat.
in through
Yeah.
there, yeah.
So the
Yeah.
existing house is 992 square feet.
Okay.
Foot for
Footprint.
First floor.
Yeah. the footprint.
Mhm.
Right. I don't know if the other homes along there have an attached garage. I don't think that's very
Encore
common.
will tell you.
That's true.
It will.
2 down looks like maybe, yeah, 2 down, 2
Oh, yeah, that
south.
one's really.
That's got a lot of coverage.
Holy cow.
Well, that has everything, pavement, garage across the road,
Oh, my gosh.
pull-in garage.
Maybe
Why
indoor
would that
roller
go
skating
through?
rink.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe.
Why do you need 4 garage spaces?
Because you can. You know,
You do when you come here once a month,
Yeah, if
or
you
once a summer. you
and
need
and
to
if there's
come.
family and,
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I bet if we, can I see my mom?
Certainly.
If we looked at
How
this
about
one
one?
here,
that's got a lot of
this
coverage.
guy,
That's crazy.
I
Yeah.
bet.
That's a squeeze.
That is crazy.
Maybe not one else.
It's been like that, yeah.
If there is any kind of pump out there being used, would they need a discharge permit? If they're by the lake that close, or would that have to be looked at?
Yes,
You would think. Yeah, we should include that if it exists. It's kind of a mystery how what they're pumping and where's it coming from?
It does
Where's it
seem
going?
weird, doesn't it?
It's liquid.
kind of
What
there.
is it?
It's
It's
mystery
liquid. They're pumping
fluids.
liquid.
that's just
Oh.
ironic to me. but-
They found black.
Right.
Oh, Lord. All
Okay,
right.
that's all I had to say.
Anybody have more comments on it or?
I would suggest revised landscaping plan.
Right.
Big time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And shoreline,
Yes.
we asked them specifically to address shoreline development guidelines, and we need a narrative and visuals.
That
So-
much more roof is gonna dump a lot more water.
Are they draining
A
like
lot,
underground
yeah.
or are they channeling the runoff into,
Mm.
sometimes
No.
there's,
No
There
There
description.
ought to
holding
be,
area.
yeah.
I would need to
Kind of.
look over the roof drains down.
yeah. when
They
they're
have to
pumping.
do that.
There
That's a
should be something
requirement.
on there. or something,
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it all kind of winds up toward the lake.
MRB will
anyway.
pick that up.
Oh, sure they will.
Mhm.
Is it a variance to have a garage on the lake shore side of it?
No,
or-
because right,
Yeah,
it's exist.
because it's
We
bigger than the
can't
existing
dictate,
footprint.
right, but we can't, the garage is considered part of the house. It's,
Mhm,
if it was a
Attached,
detached, it
yeah.
would be different.
Yeah.
Okay.
If they were building a new detached.
Mhm.
So we can't recommend,
You can recommend
Kitchen and
anything.
garage.
Mhm.
you know,
It's an-
improve or expand the garage across the street. Right?
Right,
Yeah.
so to reduce the
Footprint of-
footprint.
And they probably don't want to hear that. The neighbor probably would, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think
if
that's a
they're only
great
gonna be
point.
here seasonally, it's not their main resident. It's just to walk across the street.
Yeah. It's really not difficult in July.
I like the green roof idea for the garage portion.
What did you say, Justin?
I like the green roof idea for the garage portion.
And it's in the scenic view shed, correct? Or what is it?
It is, but MLR scenic view shed lot sizes are, I don't know if that lot is.
Yeah, that's what I was just looking at. It looks like it.
It's probably not, it's probably too low because the scenic view sheds are a little bit higher.
Do they have any plantings at the lakeside of the house?
It's
Yeah,
minimal,
yeah.
not good.
Yeah.
Not like oftentimes is suggested,
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it's
more significant plantings.
And more.
Native.
Native
lake
plantings,
friendly.
yes.
What was the maple tree, Tim? Remember what it was?
Crimson King,
Crimson,
so
yeah.
it's a Norway maple.
Okay.
You've got Rose
Can
and
be
Sharon
visible
and
from
Boxwood. I mean, they were hitting.
Everything but kudzu, yes.
Yeah, why not?
Edith is our expert.
Sorry.
She's our
Yes,
Cheryl
Edith is
Williams.
our, Megan, Edith is our, she knows everything.
She
about
No, I'm just
trees,
old.
plants.
That's all.
I would love to listen to what
Yeah,
you have to
she's
say about all
amazing.
this stuff.
I'm sure if there's any film material, there'll be some knotweed in it too.
That way-
Oh, yeah.
that way, yeah.
No,
Well, if
they
we're
ought
here,
to
we
be
can go
sure.
over to Across the street to Canandaigua Shores.
There you go.
Oh, there we are.
Just to throw duckweed.
It's not Canandaigua Shores now. Now it is
It is
Sunset Ridge
Sunset
Estates.
Ridge, yes, I see.
Which,
Change
by the way, they
name, that'll
shouldn't call
improve
that
it.
anything Lakewood Homes, because we've got Lakewood Meadows.
Well, Leaf and I came up with a list of names.
Yeah, good. We were talking about that.
Yeah,
yes.
and
Like more historic.
they're
names.
really great, but they'll probably be shot down. But
Well, I wouldn't, I honestly, I wouldn't allow Lakewood because of the.
Lakewood Meadows.
Similarly,
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
well, because it's listed here as Sunset Ridge Estates / Lakewood Custom Homes. Jonas, are they naming
That's
it
probably
Lakewood,
the
the
builder.
Hopewell part? And Sunset
Since they get
Ridge,
cutting
the
down the
Lake.
trees, it won't be Lakewood anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, my neighborhood is called Lakewood Meadows, and I
Yeah.
swear, the developers will come and be like, oh, look, there's a lake over there, it's woods over here, and Meadows, Lakewood Meadows, we're done, and I'm like, okay.
Well,
Very
this is the
creative.
same thing. Oh,
Yeah.
we can see the sunset from here. Let's call it Sunset Ridge.
Sunset Ridge.
Yeah.
But they can't, the garage is in the way.
Okay, we're being recorded. We all need to be.
So,
Yes.
so what's the history? This
Where am
is
I? I'm not even at
sold,
the right
sold
spot,
after
am I?
the rejection
I
of
think you
the original
Is that
plan.
35?
Is completely
guess I
different.
Is it the
team
same,
involved.
I was
is it
gonna
the
say, it
same
looked like
team?
that.
Plus
Sean?
Is
units.
Same owner, isn't it?
Family
Yeah.
resident
Okay,
units
so
now.
here's the deal with
Yes, single
this
family
site.
now.
It was going to be
I am on the
townhomes
right
and
site
such.
because the town line is.
But now single family.
That purple line.
Yeah. The, okay, so the original application came in, months ago under what the MUO, where it could be rezoned to high density, because it was targeted, this area, some of these areas have been targeted for higher density development, so the developer can come in and apply for that via the town board.
Is there a borderline for the MUO? I've been trying to figure that out. Where is it that, is the entire lot in the MUO?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. I took the zoning map. It's in my office.
I was gonna say,
I have a new one right now. So they brought it in, long story short, the intensity of the density on the site was just too high for approval, and 100 and I think over 100, I can't remember, maybe 130 townhomes
Mhm.
with a very steep connector road that ran from
Straight.
364 up to the other side. On the east side of this site, there are 9 preliminarily approved lots that go into the town of Hopewell and connect to 18.
Is that lot line there, the purple town of Hopewell line as
Yes,
well?
it is, yeah. So there's 9 lots. Oh, sorry, here. There are residential that are gonna be
And
here.
is that County Road 18?
It is,
Mhm.
yeah. So Lincoln Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was shot down. Basically, we said, okay, if you wanna do something, come in under the zoning the current zoning, which is R120.
Mhm.
And in the meantime, during this whole process, the scenic view shed overlay district was approved. So half of this site, basically, there's a ridge here, not a ridge, but there's a steep slope area here. Half of this is in the scenic view shed, meaning now they're 1 acre lots minimum. So these are 20,000 plus, these are 1 acre. There's 19, I can't remember how many are at the bottom.
19, I think. Yeah.
So 19 on the 364 side and then 12 on the other side of this site. Single family.
Single family.
Yeah, yeah. So we could pull that plan off if you want. So that's what's currently being reviewed. They've actually, I mean, they've really listened to the residents in the area about their environmental concerns. They are preserving the steep slopes, keeping them wooded, not doing any grading. There will be two roads. One comes in off of
Site plan.
364
I'm sorry.
Site plan.
and one will come in Hopewell.
Isn't there site plan?
There's a rendered one too.
What's this?
Sub plan.
Like if
Yeah, I think it's a
this is just like road.
Up at the very top.
Oh, there it is.
Yep.
Okay.
There.
It's pretty big. It might
It's like
take a
28
second.
sheets, isn't it?
It's much better than it used to be.
Yeah. I think I have the rendered one in here. I'll pass it on.
It's definitely on there because I was.
So, oh yeah, I just had this out. It's better.
Yes, it's definitely.
It's much better. That's a big. Yeah, there's not a lot that could, well, the woods on this site aren't the best, meaning, you know, a lot of second growth. This is being preserved. There's some forest, some preservation area that we wanted to preserve up at the top. This is a slope.
That's the high
Yeah,
slope
they're
area.
keeping that.
I was
There
wondering,
is a
what are
wetland.
these, what are the dotted lines that they've got here? too?
They are
Oh, those
phasing
were
it.
Phases,
Yep.
okay.
Those are the phases. There is a Army Corps designated wetland in this corner where it's been a year to figure out what the Army Corps wants to say about that. So
And these
They
are
take a
not
very long
existing
time.
ponds, correct?
those are not existing. They are proposing to put them on private lots.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so
Interesting.
the owner would take on the stormwater management maintenance, which is a big deal.
Yes.
That's to be determined whether Department of Health will even allow it.
Mhm.
So we have a mock agreement that they submitted in case they do allow it, but
And that's because
Department of
they've got to
Health.
keep that.
that's what, yeah, Department of Health.
They've got to keep that
Did I
1
say
acre.
Department of Health?
You said Department of Health.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. It's
And they've got to keep that 1 acre lot size, which is why they've got to give them a.
They do.
pond.
Yeah. Right, so, I mean, ideally, when they develop, the applicant, it's a pond, it's an amenity. It could be, or it could be.
A huge nuisance, yes.
Yeah.
You know, breeding ground.
And the
Oh.
cattails are good.
Cattails are
We
good.
want cattails,
Take
we
over
want
the
lily
whole
pads, or, you know, we
They're
want,
better than the geese. Yes, you don't have them.
yeah, what happens when somebody.
Now, they don't have, there's no current proposed sidewalks or trails.
That's absolutely. So they have agreed to put sidewalks at the bottom. They don't think they need them at the top.
How much longer is this in Hopewell? Do we know how long this road is?
I do.
I'd love to see the full picture with Hopewell.
Yeah, we had it originally. So it would be nice to have a trail of some sort from 364. Could you just take a look at plans all day?
If someone has a bunch of little cousins too, Those all scare me, the amount of kids that are gonna wanna climb into
That's a
those
liability
things.
issue.
Especially if it's on someone else's
It's
property.
quite close to the house. that
Well,
one,
they
too.
also need to be maintained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who wants to do that?
I don't think.
Are they gonna do
People
a
lack the knowledge of
homeowners,
how
John?
to.
Yeah, they're just
do it.
gonna get saddled with it and then not realize.
They don't want to have to do that. That's probably.
Right, they don't wanna have to
That's
do
why they're doing
homeowners, which is why
Yeah,
they wanna
I
do.
get it.
Mhm.
Now, they've said, well, one of the developers is gonna live, he gets this lot. And he said, well, we'll live there, and, well, that's great,
The
but
one
you
close
may
to the
not
one
live there
next to
forever.
Homeowner.
Right, so. Adeline, I have a rendering with, that shows all of it, but it's not in here.
It's okay, I'm just. was-
They're just
At some
9
point it'd be-
linear lots that go
Yeah.
out,
Mhm.
it's really nothing.
I'm just wondering how long the street is for, walkability reasons, basically, too, so.
It would be a nice walk.
What if they send planting here?
Well, certainly an improvement over.
I
what was,
mean,
It's an
previously.
improvement, yeah.
It
It
is an
looked like Army
improvement.
Barracks on it.
Yeah.
It looked like Camp Funston
They
or
were
something, didn't
wanting a
it?
lot of density. That's what their original goal was,
Right.
density.
And the streets have a lot more movement to them, too, they're not
Yeah.
just straight line
Right.
hills.
Yeah,
It's
they're not gonna
rectangle.
funnel the water straight down the hill to.
So
highway,
so this
which
so
is
far
what
has
I
been,
can see, yeah.
not embraced, but there's no.
The public hasn't seen this
Oh, they
yet,
haven't,
the
okay.
neighbors,
Mhm.
it'll first, I think next week, we're gonna declare our intent to be lead agency, and that's it. So we're not taking any discussion at next week's planning board meeting from the public. We will at the following.
Mhm.
Once we open up a public hearing, we won't even have one set yet. I mean, honestly, I've worked with them now, and they're
Okay.
really amenable. And the fact that they haven't walked away
Mhm.
and they're working with us, I think is great. They're very flexible,
Mhm.
open to suggestions. They want to work with the town, for sure.
It's interesting that they're showing varying house sizes as well, not just between the blue area and the red area, but like these on their private drive appear to be a good deal smaller than some of
They
these in the
do.
lower section as well.
Mhm.
What are these lot sizes in here about? Do we know? Just.
They're less than an acre. They're
Okay.
probably half
So
an
they're not
acre.
small.
I think
though.
they start at like 0.46, so
Okay,
they're not tiny.
that's decent. Yeah, that's about my size. so.
Yeah. Yep.
So at this point, are we making any sort of? Recommendation?
At this point, you can, because here's my thought, I was thinking about this while we were working on the others. You could make a recommendation now, or you can wait until April, because this is, we won't have the public hearing most likely until either the end of March or April, and it's only preliminary.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
still
then why don't we
It's a waste
hang
of
out
time.
until we
So we're
see
gonna
what
see
really
this
comes
again.
out of that? Yes,
So you
we,
could.
we have seen
it's
this
gonna be
again
hanging
already.
around. So it's up to the board how you want to proceed.
Mhm.
Marketing and calendars and books.
Yeah.
So what's everybody's thought? I mean, are we able to give recommendations twice or just one?
You can,
Oh, we-
absolutely.
I mean, I don't know if we should give them some early,
Yeah, you have.
should we give them some early feedback on it?
I think,
Since it's still in
early
progress?
feedback is valuable.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah, so I did a write-up for this one, and basically all I did was kind of revise the one we had done previously and add some red marks and basically what was the old stuff with the new stuff shown. I can go over that quickly if you want me to, or,
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
yeah, I mean, you already captured most of the stuff, just documenting the change in there from the housing situation, going from the 116 townhomes down to the 31 single-family homes and reducing the roadway by about 25%. I know they're calling out now the green space on there as being 24 acres. I wasn't quite sure in going through all that because there was a significant amount of disturbance that's going to happen out there. So I guess the plantings that they'll be doing as part of that will offset that for the green space. But basically the environmental concerns are similar to what we had before. I see they kind of confirmed that wetland. I think who was, I can't remember who did the little site walk out there, but I know that was brought up and mentioned about in that area where the wetland studies report identified it.
I went over my buck boots, if I recall.
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, so there's a whole, there's a wetland report now, that's still in waiting, you said, the feedback from.
Yes, the actual determination from the Corps is still in flux.
Okay.
Yep.
So that was part of my recommendation, basically in that, oh, sorry, hold on one second. Sorry, random kid. So,
Kid Papa.
yeah. So basically, they'd want to minimize any disturbance, and I'm sure there would be some kind of buffer if it is designated as a wetland that they have to be concerned with. And then how that would be treated, because it's mostly confined to building lot 18. And they are building a house there, so I don't know if that's something they'll obviously have to work through. If depending on whatever the designation or what the Army Corps says on that. Obviously, the soils there are pretty shoddy, so you're going to get a lot of water coming off the hill. We already know that. They've done a good job basically of breaking it up, the two sections now. Like you had said, it's more of a meandering path, the roadways now, and there's a pretty good tree buffer between those two phases. So for the recommendation, it's similar to what we had before. You know, the ECB recommends that the applicant minimize disturbances, development in the steep slope areas, wetland areas around building lot 18, based on the wetland delineation report. A large portion of the wooded area will be removed. A concerted effort should be made in the landscape to plan to mitigate the loss, which they do have the landscape plan in there. It looks like they have some native species identified in those plantings and using them too for screening. The ECB appreciates the improvements made on the roadway design, reduction in the amount of paved area, the tree buffer maintained between the developments, roadway that is more contoured with the slope, and additional infiltration structures that have been added to the plan. The ECB appreciates the inclusion of the additional infiltration structures and design revisions in the mitigation stormwater runoff at the site. They also noted that they're making an effort to do the dark sky compliant lighting in the neighborhood. The one thing I didn't know, I mean, was there going to be sidewalks provided in there? I didn't see that in there.
Yeah, you didn't see that. We have asked them to
Okay.
put sidewalks in, but you didn't miss them.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
So it's more of the same, like you said, it's an improvement. It's great. Hopefully water won't be rushing out on the 364 there for oncoming traffic.
You just aim it towards that extremely.
Yes, yes. No, it was just a shoot down the hill.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
As a kid, I would have loved it. We would have put 300 feet of plastic down and went with it.
Big slip and slide, yeah.
You know, I listened in on part of the town board meeting. You had a presentation on climate smart communities and whatnot. And I wonder, when we're looking at these subdivision developments, should we be commenting on those kind of issues? You know, there's natural gas that goes down East Lake Road. Should we recommend that they not be using that in these subdivisions, or, you know, single home development? You know, we're kind of blessed with a lot of renewable energy. Our electricity, I think they talked about 20% comes from fossil fuel, but the rest is renewable, a lot of hydroelectric. So really pushing more towards using, you know, heat pumps as opposed to gas heat. I mean, has that come up in any discussions?
It's a great point,
That's a
and
good point.
I think it should come up more, and I think as you, as a board, and setting your goals and your intent, that can be something that guides your reviews, really, honestly. Geothermal, I know it's expensive, but.
Well, with the incentives, I
Right.
mean, I actually could talk to personally, I had to replace a furnace and I never had air conditioning. But with the state incentives, it was the same cost.
Yeah.
Replacing with the geothermal system.
Yeah, Jared Simpson told me,
Yeah.
I mean, it's you know, he's not paying any more. I mean, now he can cool his
Yeah,
house too.
exactly.
Yeah, Geo is amazing. I would recommend it to everybody.
Especially with
Especially if you're going to electric vehicle.
I'm sorry, just go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was just espousing on the benefits of Geo. We have it at our house and
Oh, yeah.
especially if you're going from electric baseboards and having to put in ductwork for a new system, it makes a lot of sense money wise.
I mean, I think that's absolutely something this board could
Yeah,
suggest.
promote that.
Are you looking at geothermal? I mean, it's a brand new site. Why not?
Sure.
Mhm.
Sure.
I think that's. a
I would
very
think
good point.
marketing wise too.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
For the
Reduce your
appeal.
costs long term.
Yeah, areas like this too are great for community solar if it's applicable to like a development. I mean, if they look into that stuff, that's also a benefit to, I guess, the homeowners, but I don't know how that would work with the homeowners association or something like this where they don't really have a homeowners association.
Right.
Put the panels on the roofs. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Lakewood Meadows could be completely powered by the wind that we have. It's
Some
a
wind turbines.
very large circle. We could just put a turbine in the middle of it. I think it would do the whole neighborhood.
Freeze lows.
That's a very good point, though. Thank you.
Yes, it is.
I really-
So is that something that we would need driven from the ECB, or is that something that we would need put into a directive for the planning board? I mean, how would we?
That's a good
How would we
question.
encourage geothermal and heat pumps? How would we do that?
I think if the town, as a town moves forward with becoming, what's the term?
Environmentally
It's
conscious.
the
No.
CC.
This
Climate-
designated.
Climate smart community.
Right, so,
CSC.
right, so if
There's
we
two
are,
of them. There's
yeah,
CSC and
right,
the other one too.
with that designation, I think that can open up a whole nother realm for our recommendations to have more
Yeah,
teeth.
absolutely.
I think that would be, you know, as we move forward as a town, it could just be beneficial all around.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, we could even explore it as carbon offsets and all, you know, all sorts of
Absolutely.
things in that direction.
Yeah.
So.
Net zero
Mhm.
Mhm.
development.
Okay.
Right.
Any other comments on Sunset Ridge Estates? I have to keep looking at it to figure out. what it
He
is.
was like, that's where people go to die. You can't change the name.
Find a different name, yes.
Okay, then I think we can move on to the town newsletter and the.
I have to excuse myself. I have to get home
You're fine.
tonight, so before 6:30.
Thank you, Shauna.
Thank you all.
There's a great write-up in this month's newsletter. so
Yes, that
thank
was
you
very
again.
beautiful, Edith.
Yes, oh, thank you.
I love Edith's articles.
Free to grow. No, it's free to-
Oh, well,
Treat
treat
the
the grow.
That was
So-
really clever.
Yeah.
Well,
So we're good for spring. We're doing, Kimberly, you've
Kim's
got
doing the
your
next one.
spring ephemerals.
So
I don't
that's
even
gonna
know what
be
those are,
April's.
so I will have to read it.
You'll like it.
Okay.
You'll know a lot of them already.
Is that like ephemeral ponds or
They're
vernal
wildflowers.
ponds? Oh,
So a good
wildflowers,
example
okay.
would be like bloodroot or trillium.
Okay. Nice.
Asters.
All I know about
Spring
trillium is my mom being
beauties.
like, don't
Spring
pick those,
beauties.
do not pick the trillium.
yes, yes, I have many Jack in the pulpits
Mm.
and May apples and spring beauties and love it, can't wait.
Do we want to determine a May topic or anybody feel like? they
Thinking
can
about
go
that, I haven't come up with an idea yet, but it might happen very soon, unless anyone has anything to suggest. I guess it could be something early summer. I don't know.
Is that a good time?
talk
I guess
about
to do natives and
like
stuff,
like-
native pollinators again.
Pollinators?
Are people gonna be wondering about gypsy moss again this
I
May?
think we were saying that they don't expect
I
them to
know,
be
I
too
know.
bad
I
this
know.
year.
I think it's been humid
I
enough
think we've
that they're
done
probably
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
be, the fungus is probably gonna
Very few,
reduce the
you didn't
numbers
see
of
many
them.
egg masses
Yeah.
hiking through Ananda, right?
Yeah.
Not too bad.
Didn't we recently do like a pollinator or not that long ago, didn't we have something, how to make like a?
Yes,
Oh,
bees.
yeah, we had the mason bees. and-
Yeah,
and,
That wasn't
leaf
that
cutter
long ago, I
bees,
don't
yes.
think, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Well, are you
Well,
gonna take May then?
I'll do May, whatever it
Okay.
may be.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right.
I'll do
Always
May.
compost that never.
Oh, I know, compost. We can always do that. Okay, I'll do May. If you think of an exciting suggestion, send it my way.
Okay. Anybody,
I know.
any thoughts on your summer exhibit, or do we want to even worry about?
Oh,
what
yeah,
that is?
I'm going to change
Spring
out
wildflowers.
probably mid-March, as soon as the chaos in my house dies down.
That's when it
I'm
happens,
going-
mid-March? I'll mark that on
I
my
will
calendar.
put up some wildflower stuff, so it'll
Nice.
match her article nicely then. I've got, I'll make some big blow ups of the things.
Megan, I don't
And
know if
can
you
you
want to assist
identify?
with anything, or that might be a
I
great way
would
to
love
start.
to. If
That
you
would be
wanna
great. Sure,
send me an
sure, why
email, I can
not?
Give you my phone number, whatever you
Okay.
want.
That'll be fine. Yeah,
We'll get you all.
and you'll be on the email anyway, so
Yeah.
we
Yes.
can, I
Yes.
can connect with you
figure
that
it
way,
out
yeah.
from there, so.
Yes, I think the local wildflowers would be a nice thing to put up in the display
But
case.
don't pick
for
the
a while.
trillium and put it there, I know that. My mom
No,
said
we will
not
identify.
pick the
Well,
trillium.
none of these really should be picked, you
Exactly.
know, but people don't know what they're looking at,
Mhm.
so
Mm.
it's good to identify the things and
Are
say.
leeks on your list of ephemerals? They should be, right? They
Uh,
don't flower, but,
Actually, they
Wow.
flower in the summertime.
They-
oh,
yeah.
Like
really?
July.
But you harvest them in the.
Yeah, the ramps you're talking.
Yeah.
Ramps,
Yeah.
ramps,
Ramps,
yeah.
Yep.
Fiddlehead
Yes,
Farm.
and you have to sit outdoors if you eat them.
Experience that.
I'll remind you again, we're being recorded. Okay, any changes or information on that ECB referral review checklist we had been talking about?
I had gotten.
We should have asked Sarah Linda while she was sitting here.
Sarah had sent me along an email.
Okay.
Who did, I'm
and-
sorry?
Sarah Linda.
Sarah Linda, okay.
And I can pass this along to everyone if they want, but basically she said, they had originally created a checklist to try and streamline it, but she more or less found how Jared was doing it last year, where it was kind of more a narrative rather than like going through a checklist, was easier for her to do, and it was also more streamlined in the meeting. But she identified some things to look at, and she also shared along a couple of reports she had did with that checklist. So that might be helpful for newer folks to look down through, because it will like as you look at like the wetlands, or as you look at what are the communities and that property and different things like that. So-
Yeah, I would like to see that as somebody who hasn't done it.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that from last month. The checklist was what I was trying to look for. I couldn't find it filtering through all my emails. But I think this might have it, that was the old, like you had mentioned, we would do that, run down that checklist, basically identify any problems or overlaps, and basically that would get forwarded on, or we would add on to that at the time. That's how I remember it.
I think if we could get one that we could all kind of approve and then post it right to the ECB page so that we all permanently got access to it.
So what I'll do is I'll send this along from Sarah Linda. And so if people want to take a look at it, and, I think if we had a form, just like a Word document,
Mhm.
and people can fill out parts of it or not fill out parts of it,
Yeah.
but that might help.
With prompts essentially, yeah.
Yeah, prompts, but to Sarah Linda's advice, don't feel like you're strangled by it, don't try and fill out every part, because you'll spend a lot of extra effort, and it might be things more for us to talk about.
Kind of related to that, and I spoke to Eric a little bit about this in terms of orientation for new folks, and I include myself in that. Possibly getting Justin and Sarah Linda, who really have the chops for doing these site reviews, and you guys as well, if we could maybe have a tutorials or whatever.
There's
for-
not a
for-
foot of
for-
snow.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Megan, Adeline, myself, Eric, who else?
Yeah, there's no secret sauce, and everybody's gonna have their own little flavor. But yeah, I think what Sarah Linda started with and we kind of move forward with, I think it's a good approach to it. And obviously, there's a lot of tools when you look at on like using the seeker and going through the checklist stuff they have on there as the starting point to kind of fill out that little Word document. But
Well, would you be willing to actually do some didactics?
yeah, next time, next meeting, I can kind
Or
of.
set up a separate Zoom call, or I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe we could all, like, one of the properties that'll be coming up, since it sounds like there's gonna be a bunch of them, maybe we could all.
Yeah, that is true.
one of them,
That would be-
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we could have two different ones where we could at least
Yeah,
come up with, whoever's going, we could invite anybody else to come with and kind of learn.
yeah,
by
that would
doing
be,
it.
that would be good.
Do it by
Especially now
committee.
since we have the badges.
'Cause I
Yes,
know
we gotta show
Frank
up
is
as
an
Nancy
engineer.
Badger.
I do appreciate
I
that.
already
I-
Someone with a badge.
Having worked for the Soil and Water District and you go out on somebody's property and they turn the dogs out.
We got the
You know,
gun,
yeah. Yeah, there's, who are you and what are you doing here? And you're on my
Volunteer is
property.
bait, so
Yeah.
I can run pretty fast if you guys need me to.
This is
I
one
feel
of
bad
the
with the badge.
reports that Sarah Linda had sent along, one of the older ones. And this is, she called out a lot of stuff here at the bottom, you know, it's even got maps, so, you know, it just might be something to refer to even.
Yes.
So let's do that then. So how do we usually pick who's going to be reviewing the property anyway? Is it just kind of like,
People raise
Hey,
their
who's
hands.
It's up,
good
it's
for
up
this
for
volunteer?
grabs, you know.
this one looks good? They have 7 dogs, we'll send Edith.
Only after Easter. Yes.
All right, and so yeah, so if we can figure out who's, you know, who's going where, when, and maybe get some of the more experienced people and the rest of us to kind of tag along.
Yeah, if we could shadow.
Yeah,
After the PRC minutes come out, I'll send the referrals and there'll probably be
Okay.
quite a list and we
Okay.
can just talk and pick one, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I guess for some of them, I don't think require site visits, or should we be doing site visits at all of them? I never really knew what the etiquette was on that, because some of them are pretty straightforward from looking at an aerial, and when it's only like this.
Some of them
little-
you don't really need to go out, but others you would need to see. Yeah.
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Yes.
Thank you. Very
Good
I
thoughts
need to
about
get out,
the.
'cause
Okay.
I actually had to go back to work.
It's
Long meeting today, so.
Yeah,
so-
it was so lovely meeting you all in
You too.
person, by the
Thank
way.
you. Welcome.
Yes, also, I heard Eric lost,
His gerbil, yeah.
tell him I'm
I
sorry.
will.
Gerbil, oh, dear.
It's very sad. So, we had the gerbil burial today.
Oh, no, hopefully the ground was thawed enough for that.
Was just a mulch area, nowhere near the water.
Oh, good. Have a lovely night, guys. Enjoy
Good
being
night.
here.
So I don't think we don't have anybody here from the CIC or the local.
Well, I'm from the CIC, but we had the big meeting the other night,
Yes.
the kickoff of all the committees,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah,
And I'll send the minutes out if people are interested in those. Tree board is one of the.
Please,
various
yes, I was
Yes.
unable to come.
and I would share the flow chart from Doug. We can share that as well. when you
Yes,
come, 'cause
I was going to put his presentation.
It's
as
one
a-
of the things that came up
Good.
in that
That's
too.
excellent.
We met this morning, the local history team, and the big takeaway is the Ononda kiosk. The progress is coming very, very well. This is a beautiful, beautiful map. And that will be, we talked a bit about how we can get more public engagement with the park, in the park, using that map. Should we, small things, but important things, should we hand out paper versions? Yes, there's a cost, but should we hand them out at a request, on a request basis? At the park headquarters or as people drive in? Should we have one kiosk in the parking lot lakeside and a second one in front of the, in front of the upland trail? The idea was that where the existing kiosk now
It's
is
kind
not
of buried
terribly
in there.
noticeable, and as a parent, and yeah, my kids are all grown, but the idea of taking toddlers across that road to see the
Mhm.
kiosk and you're reading and, okay, where's Tommy? I'm just not comfortable with the physical location of that kiosk. The kiosk is a place that you should spend time, ask questions, talk, and where it is now. I know it's a back away from the road a bit, but
Yeah.
it's just not conducive to gathering and talking.
Yeah.
So that point was made, and I'll be walking the trails again some more this spring, and Sarah Lynn has asked me if I would just do a short blurb for each trail, each section of the trail. I think there's 5 of them we identified, and space allowing, we'll put that on the kiosks. So again, people who have never been there, people with small kids can look at the kiosk and, okay, what are we getting into? How long is it? How difficult?
What are we gonna see?
Yeah, what are we gonna see?
Should we climb this waterfall? That's something.
Yes, and the placement of the kiosk right now is inviting for the stream. You know,
Yeah.
they just naturally spill over to the water.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And that is technically a trail.
Yes.
But
Mhm.
there are many other trails.
Yes.
So I didn't even know the kiosk was there for the first 3 years I lived.
Oh,
there.
really?
I
Oh,
went to
really?
the park
Gee.
a few times and I never saw the thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
So the other one is the kiosk that's down right by the lake shore. Is that the other one that you're talking about?
Where the
Over
main
by the big
parking
rock
area,
down there, or,
some central location,
Yeah.
you know, where.
because I think of 2 right now. I think of one, obviously the one by the trails and the water. But then the other one I'm thinking of is literally by the giant rock, right near like the lifeguarding beach area. Is that the 2 locations that we're talking about now, or?
We didn't really look at a specific location
Okay.
on the lake
Lakeside.
side.
But is it talk about moving the trail one to the lakeside, or moving it up to
Actually
the
having
upland
2.
area?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
getting rid of the location where it is now
Mhm.
and having one at the foot of the upland trail
Okay,
Mhm.
and then another one, second
That's a good
one,
idea.
on the lakeside.
on the lakeside,
So-
okay.
So people who are going to the beach or going to that lakeside for the day know that there are trails, and if they have an hour or 2 hours, the kids still have energy to
Isn't-
run
And more than the stream.
Yeah.
more than the stream.
Isn't there one, there's a small kiosk though, I think, right near the big rock down there, isn't there?
Yeah, it's something very
Yeah.
small.
Panel or
There's something,
Yeah.
some wooden structure down there by that big, huge rock that's down there.
Historical
It's got,
markers there.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's, I think it talks about the history of Ononda or something, I think. I'm not sure, but anyway. I would know if it were August. I could tell you exactly what it said, but less so in March.
Mhm.
Okay, and strategic goals that we are already familiar with. I don't think we need to.
No, we'll just
Go
keep
over those
repeating them
again.
just for
Mhm.
reinforcement.
Mhm.
Although if we're doing things like coming up with suggestions for green roofs or
Geothermal or
It's-
whatever, that ought to be
or
part
whatever, yeah.
incorporated, yeah.
it's gonna feed right to some of these
Yeah.
types of things.
Yeah, I think that's something we should maybe, I don't know if we can add that to the discussion on the agenda next month, and if, how we would approach making that more of a priority for new builds, at least in the town.
For what specifically?
For the green infrastructure issues, geothermals
Okay.
and the
Solar.
heat pumps and
Green
solar.
roofs,
and-
yeah. Well, truly, the rain gardens are green infrastructure and so much.
Yeah.
We are already doing it, but not labeling it that.
Well, I mean, right now, if I want to build a house in the town, is there something that I first see that is, these are our suggested parameters? Is that something that we currently provide? Or they just come to
Not
us?
to my knowledge.
I think they get more feedback when they put the
Have a
plans
plan
in.
Put it
ready to
up
go.
And we say, well, you should plant more native plants or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So nothing official like that I know.
Mhm.
There's
Not-
design guidelines,
Mhm.
in the code, but keeping your setbacks depending on the size of lot you're building on. And so when you get into
My
the
goodness.
engineering and
Yeah.
drainage, and if the rain gardens have, the idea of them has grown over the past run of
Mhm.
years.
Mhm.
folks like that. tend to like
Infiltration.
that. And then those, they get installed, and the big thing is maintaining them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anyone, once they get put in, actually
Doesn't work.
does anything about.
Well, see, now that would be a really good article.
Like an
is
inspect, like
maintain your
keeping,
rain garden.
maintaining
Yes,
your rain
yes.
garden.
Actually,
Yes,
that would be a
there's-
nice
yes.
summer one.
It would.
Yeah,
Mhm.
maybe that's what May will be.
Okay.
That's a good, possible,
Or you could bring up geothermal.
like the main rain gardens at the outhouse park, right,
Yes,
Edith?
yes, which
Edith
two of them
loves
have
those.
worked beautifully, and the third one was never put in correctly, and the maintenance guys destroyed it. What did grow,
Yeah,
I have,
the lawnmower companies don't necessarily, they just,
Understand it, yeah.
oh,
you're one on their day and they mow and they go
Uh,
on to the next one.
just-
I think a big issue too is with some of the builders, they don't understand why they're doing it. So there's a disconnect.
That's
with
true.
The purpose of the rain garden. I know just from a few that have gone up and just, they don't understand why they're doing it. So I think there needs to be some education too with the local builders to understand why you're doing it. It's not just a little pit in the ground. It's serving a purpose.
Okay.
mhm.
There are municipal boot camp classes that people can take if any of them are
Mhm.
interesting to anybody. I know there's the solar battery project they're coming up in April, and the seeker review for May, which I think would apply to all of us as well. So
Yeah, that might be a good one.
Yes,
Guess we need our 4 points for the year.
yes.
or more if you're new.
Yeah, more. Is it, how many is it? Is it 12? Is that 12? Then used to
I
be
don't
12?
remember.
10 or 14, I can't
Quite a
remember
few.
which. It's quite a
Quite a
few.
lot, yeah.
yeah, I'll have to chat with you about that, Kimberly, because I don't know. Well, I don't know. I'm not officially a member, right? So I'm just kind of
You're the facilitator.
Facilitator.
so I'm not sure what I do, but I've got to.
Yeah, I'm sure that as a board member, you have some requirements. So
Yes.
I would probably,
I've already done a
I
good
think
amount.
you
but
have probably
Yeah.
had the course.
Yeah.
How do we find out what, I mean, these are all great opportunities. How do we know how to document or display the fact that we've taken some of this training?
So when I've done training in the past, they send you an email at the end that you can,
Mhm.
I think you can share it with the clerk.
Some of them
correct?
do.
So,
and
I was
some
Shauna
of them
collects
don't,
them.
yeah.
yeah, oh, Shauna,
Mhm.
Shauna does.
Mhm.
because I was
Send
gonna
it to
say, I didn't
Shauna.
get a certificate for, I took one of these.
Mhm.
They haven't sent
Sometimes
me
they do
anything.
and sometimes they
Yeah,
don't.
it comes
Yeah,
through, or
can't,
you
yeah.
say that you did it and what day it was and
We
what
think
the
you're an
time
honest
was.
woman, yes.
You know, just report that you attended something. Yeah.
Does academic coursework in ecology? or-
Sure, why not?
Yeah,
Well, you could
I
use
think
some
so.
math. Why not?
See, you know,
What happens?
I
As
think
long
it
as it's
would,
environmentally
I think
related,
it would be
fine.
absolutely,
Okay.
acceptable, yeah.
Okay.
Be lots better than a 1 day, 4 hour, which would give you 4 hours of credit,
I don't know details, but I know Shauna had mentioned something about maybe having a training here at the town for a bunch of topics that might help you get a lot of the training
Mhm.
I think
requirements.
that
Yeah.
would be good too, yeah.
So if they do that, I think she was saying something like April or something.
Mm.
Okay.
Anything that's after Easter is.
See, I go to a lot of meetings, so. I do
Yeah.
A lot of different things.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think everything else on here is pretty much about training. So our next meeting is, unless somebody else sees something, I think we can pretty much adjourn until April 7th at 4:30 PM. So if anybody else has anything else that they want to
See
share.
you then.
questions on anything? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, yes.
Anyone want to second?
I'll second.
Okay. All right, meeting adjourned. It's always hard to get someone to motion to adjourn a meeting. Especially a meeting that's been almost 2 hours long.
Good evening, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, yeah.
Justin.
I hope to
Justin.
meet you one of these days, Justin.
Yeah, I'm shooting for April. My wife started working again and Thursdays are her nights that she's working, so it's made it even more complicated. So
Oh, that's tough.
Well, just bring
Yeah.
the kids. We'll bring
Yeah,
lollipops.
they can run around.
Yeah, I don't know if you want that wish to come true.
Fine.
There's only
The
a few.
room will be all torn up, the maps will be off the wall. Have a good evening.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Justin.